Hello everyone and welcome to the lab tutorial number 11. In this lab, actually we are going to install and configure the database platform for Windows Server 2012. So in this tutorial we will be using the MySQL database in order to manipulate it and deploy it with the proper with the kind of SQL structured language. Well, I will just leave the theory part for you to to review from the chapter that we have taken. We have explained during the theory class. So here we will be handling the practical part. So the practical part, in order to install and configure MySQL, it's really simple and straightforward. So it'll be like summarized in mainly three main steps. So the first step here is to download and install the there's a tool here that it's called Web Platform Installer. So in this tool, it will help us to download and to download actually and install the console for MySQL or MySQL. Well, the second step here, it is the installation of the MySQL, and then in the third step or in the third phase, we will be trying together those kind of simple SQL commands in the MySQL database. So with that, that's why you can see here as the prerequisite for this lab tutorial. So I need you to refresh back and go to retrieve your experience and your skills in any course that you have taken in the web development and web design. So particularly the part that handles the SQL and MySQL queries. So as a prerequisite to this lab here, I will need you to refresh back using the commands of MySQL, because I'm not going to explain them thoroughly here while I'll be using them right away during the lab steps or during the activity steps. So that will be MySQL commands, MySQL queries actually. All right, so without further ado, let's just go and go through the details. So, well, if you, you can refer back to our handout and to our lab manual that I have distributed to you. It thoroughly actually explains the MySQL installation and actually how it actually goes step by step using the screenshot. Even I was actually doubting, I was hesitating even to go and record this kind of video. And by the time we have this kind of meaningful and detailed and rich kind of tutorial that you have, because all you need here, it's just been written and it has been written and demonstrated pace phase by phase for you. But okay, so let's just go into action and follow whatever steps in here. So the first thing here, it is to download that kind of tool that we have set, which is the web platform installer. Well, so this is the link. This is the link. Actually, this is an application that has been provided. It's an extension that has been provided by Microsoft. So you can just simply go and retrieve it from here using this URL, and there you go. So this is the one that we are actually looking for. So either you can choose your flavor and according to your machine system and install that tool. So for me, I have already installed that tool and I have already also pasted in here. So it's up to you how you can retrieve it from here. So either by accessing that URL from the internal browser in here, or you can just drag it, or you can just move it or transfer it using the USB flash drive. Well, so assuming that you have already taken the tool here, you have already downloaded the tool. So the next step here is to install. It's just a pretty easy installation for the tool. So click here, accept, and then install. That's it. So finish. What you need to do now is just to go to the start here and type web platform, Microsoft Web Platform Installer, and this is it. So give it a little while to wait for the uploading all the panel, because this is actually the the control panel or like it is the platform that provides more than one application and more than one extension for us. I mean, like for the users of Microsoft, for Microsoft products to be installed. And among these extensions is that the database, or what we call actually the MySQL database. So here you can just browse by applications in here. I want you to go down until the end, or you can actually search up the term here, but I'm just navigating until the end. As I remember here, it is supposed to be, well, that will be, should be in products. Well, let me just type in here MySQL, press enter. Well, this is the one I'm looking for here. Let me just confirm this. So after we install it, so under products, you can just simply look for that MySQL 5.1. So we are actually in the same page here, and let me just go again and double confirm this. And here, so if you just navigate here and go to MySQL, you can find it in MySQL. That will be all right. So this is the one in here, right? Because I was I was sorting the list alphabetically. Well, so select it and go and click on add. Click on add. After you add it, so this button will be activated for you, and then simply click install. Alright, so it will and like the installer and the wizard will prompt you to enter and create actually a password, so you can actually create and use any kind of password for the root in order to access the database, the MySQL database. So I'm gonna create the password. Will be as simple as this, and then simply click continue. So this is the size that it's going to consume from the disk, so that's okay actually. Then I'll just simply accept and then let it complete the installation process. I may need to interrupt this video for a while until the completion of the buffer, so I will see you after the completion. Well, the installation is already succeeded here, and it ends up with a successful completion. So click finish and close this. So we do not need this this platform anymore. So simply cross that and go and browse from the start, looking for the term MySQL. So if you type that MySQL, this is the one that we're looking for here. Not that one. It is the command prompt client. It is the command line client. So click on it, and then this is the password. It will prompt you initially with the password that you have created just now. So enter your password and then access the MySQL. So this is actually the MySQL client, or the console here, that provides you with the different capabilities actually in order to use the database. Well, so actually, so with that, actually, we have successfully installed whatever, I mean, like the database in here. So the other part is actually already new. So we are already here in this step. So we have completed the installation in here, and then so whatever skills that you have on MySQL, like for listing and showing data in a database, for creating and deleting tables, inserting data into tables. So all of these actually you can practice them, and you can just try them according to your skills. So I'm not going to go in deep with that. I will just go and I will just actually walk you through a simple scenario and a simple commands, like for those who are actually a way of recalling these skills in MySQL, so you can just take the initiatives in here, while later on you can expand the scenario more and more. So for showing the database, for example, here you can use show database. As I remember, so show databases, that will actually display the command, and that will actually display the different databases that you have here. So the databases here, I'll be having 3 databases by default. So these are the databases. So let's say that I wanted to I wanted actually to create a database other than these databases in here. So it is just as simple as create database, create database, and then I provide the database name. So here you can write any name you want as the name of your database. So for example, I want to use employee. Okay, so I want to use employee. So create, let me just double confirm this. Of course, it has to, each query here has to end with a semicolon. So like C++ and like the other programming language. So you can just imagine the way, I mean like the same way in that. So click, okay. So sorry, click return, and here the query okay status, it shows that one database has been created. So when we show databases, again, you see, because I have forgotten the semicolon here, so I have my employee has been created for me here. All right, so with that, let me just create another database. For example, I can actually create as much as possible of databases, because you see, this is actually like an it is just a client that allows me to I mean like to add as much as possible of the I mean like the different databases and tables. Okay, so create test 2, and then I don't forget the semicolon here. I forgot it. I have forgotten the keyword database create. Of course, that should be database test 2. Well, then show, and then I will go for show database semicolon here. So now I'm having 2 databases. So let me just, now I want to delete a database, for example, because that's why actually I've created test 2 in order to be able to create like and like to make it a sample to be created, a sample to be to demonstrate the removal of the database. So for deleting database, you can use the command drop here. Drop, the drop command, it's being used in order to delete a database, to say. So drop database, and then the database name here, for example, test2. Don't forget the semicolon here. So create database. So drop database test2, and then okay. So again, if you go and show databases, that should actually indicate that it doesn't has test2 anymore. All right, so okay, so now we want to use a database, or like we want to access a database. So in order to access a database, we need actually to select it or to point on it. We need to indicate the console that we are actually pointing to a particular database. So from these databases existed in here, so we can actually point to a database by the keyword use. So use, for example, and then the name of the database, for example, test. So here I am pointing to use, I'm pointing to use that particular database. So database has been changed into into test database. All right. So now I'm already under database test. So I can now perform, if I want to create tables, I want to delete or show something, show details of the database, I can do so. So I cannot show the details of any database unless I perform the keyword, or unless I perform the query of using that database before. So okay, so I want to create a table here. Let's say, for example, so I can type as something uh, I can type the command, actually the query that I'm using, it is just the create itself. So that's why actually, and this is the beauty of actually this is the beauty of SQL, and MySQL in particular, because you see MySQL has already been inherited from the SQL. So it is very plain English, and it's very easy to learn. Nothing actually more complicated and mysterious about the commands and the queries that you can use there. So let's just create. So here I'm using the term create in order to indicate that, in order to instruct the MySQL that I'm about to create. So create a what? I'm creating table, and then I will need to give the table name here. So create table, these are kind of keywords, and then I'm giving a table name, could be article, for example, and then I open bracket, and for manageability, let's just enter. But here, entering here, it doesn't mean that I have ended the query, because as long as I didn't put the semicolon, it means that I'm indicating that I didn't finish writing the query yet. So, but I'm just typing this for the sake and the purpose of manageability to the code, or like to the query that I'm typing. All right. So AID, for example, which is the ID, I mean like the primary key here to be. So which is actually stands for the author ID. I'm just shortcutting that. So int. So here I'm giving the type of that field. So it's int, and then the size of that field. So the size here, for example, I'm using 5, and then here not null. I do not want it to be as null. And not null also here, it's just, those are actually keywords of all right. So the number 5 here, this is the value that you can change up to your flavor and up to your choice, because this indicates the size of the type. All right. So and actually there is no space here. It's not recommended to leave a space here between the data type and the size. And then of course you need to I mean like put a comma here, type a comma, and then press enter here again. I still didn't finish here. I'm still in the same query because I still didn't type the semicolon here. So I want to continue. So this is the first row that I'm entering here. Oh, sorry, this is the first column to say I'm entering. The second column here, I want to have author, and that type of the of the column, that will be a var. That will be actually a var char. It will be a variable character. Okay, and then the size of it, I want to have it as, for example, 50 to say. All right, so and I want it also to be not null, and again a comma. I want also to continue and add more, for example, title. Again, it's var char, and it will be like 100. Say, for example, the size of it is 100, and then not null as well, meaning that it's not empty. All right, so comma again here, and then I want to have another field called content. So content, and also it is varchar. Varchar here is actually like a type of field that allows me, or that allows creating or entering a text kind of data. So whatever data here, even though it's numbers, it is it's been written in numbers or digits. So finally it will be read and converted into a text, something like the prompt message in the programming. Okay, so here again I want to have this actually a little bit more. Let's say I'm giving it 10,000 as a size. So also again here it's not null. Actually, these are just an examples of that. I'm just writing a simple example and scenario in order to show you how to create a simple table in a database that we have created, or in an existing database. All right. So so with that here, I need to identify, after I have entered my columns, after I define my columns here, I want to identify which column of these is to be marked or pointed as the primary key, and I have to do that actually. So with that, so I want to point author ID or AID here. It is to be the field that it's actually indicating the primary key for the form. So to do that, I have to indicate it using a keyword primary key. See, I'm telling you, that's why it's very simple and straightforward. So it seems that like you are talking to someone else. So instructing someone else, not a machine actually. Right, so primary key, and in here type the column name, or like the field name. Okay, so this is it. And here I do not want to forget the close bracket. What is this for? It is for this one, because here I have opened the parentheses here, and then I should close it here in the end. Okay, so again here the last field that I'm like the last line that I'm going to write here is to indicate what is the engine type, like the database engine type, and also the characteristic, like the coding set, like the coding of the data, the type of the coding for the data that to be entered. So in order to handle this, I should write it this way: engine equal to, there is actually one command engine called INODB, and then space, so char set here, that should equal to, of course, that famous one, UTF-8. So this is the famous kind of Unicode. All right, so with that, I have finished typing, making sure that all the queries are correct. Nothing actually is missing, and even there shouldn't be any typos here, because especially when it comes to the keywords, of course, if you have any error or like typo, it may actually indicate an error for the whole query that you need to retype it all again. So double check that, and then I will just click in, press enter. There you go. So once you see this status saying query OK, rows has been affected, so this means that you are actually created a table successfully. Okay, we want to show the how to show a table details that we have created just now. So by using the command describe and then the table name article. So describe article, it will show me the table name that I have created, and then these are the commands that I'm using. So this is the primary key. It has already been pointed here to author ID, and this is my table. So it is very sweet and straightforward. So let's say I want to view part of that table. I do not want to view all this table. Okay, so I have to use the command select. So let me select either, when we said, we can actually even use select to show the entire table details by using, by that way, select star. If we have pressed, if we have typed select star, it means that select everything from what? From article. That's the table name. And then maybe we can limit it to 5. And then we press enter. So that's it. So okay, so here we can actually review part of the table. All right, so here, because we don't have actually any data inside, that's why actually we still didn't we're still unable to show any kind of user data there. Okay, so now we want to insert data into the table. Then actually by then we can see actually that this command will bring us will return to us particular results. So before that, actually it's much better for us to add to insert a data into that table. All right, so in order to insert data, it is by using, of course, the command insert. So insert into what? Into article, being the table name, and then, of course, we need to insert values. So here I'm pressing enter because I want, again, as I told you, I want to to make my query managed, and if I have any errors, I can detect them so easily. So that's why you can do so, as long as you're not pressing a semicolon, you're not actually hitting the semicolon button. So here, for for each record here, I have to start it by open and close brackets here. So starting by 1, which is the first, so the first one will go for the first column, and so on and so forth. So it is actually separated by commas. So whatever, these values here have to be exactly 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I have to have the, sorry, it has to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So according to the different columns that I have here in the table. All right, so let me just give an example of the values. So any char, of course, we know that it has to be within a single quotation here. For example, Joan, and then separated by comma, and then, for example, title will be like title, let's say that it's a title ABC, and then comma again here, and then the content here, of course it has to be of course within a single column. So as you notice here, because all of them are actually varchar except for the main, like except for the author ID, so that's why whatever values that to be inserted here, it should be within a single quotation. So let's say just this is the content of title ABC, for example, to make it that actually that kind of easy. Well, so again, I want to add another record, so I'm separating that by comma. So if you notice that here we separate, like we use the comma in order to separate either between the different field or within the different rows, which is because each row here it actually represents one single record. Okay, so again, let me just type another example here with a similar data to indicate that there is actually more than one record. So maybe the other person name or the author name here could be, for example, Ellie. And then I'm using the title again here. Title, let's say XYZ, for example. And then the content here should be the content of title XYZ. All right, so that's it. So with that, I would like to finish the query. So making sure that everything is being written correctly, especially the separation of the between the value between the fields here, and the keywords are being written without any typos. Okay, so especially the especially when we write the table name here, it should be spelled correctly there. All right, so let me just press enter here, and this is what you will see. So so now in order to show the data here, again I should go actually and describe the table. So if I press describe, if I hit enter, if I type in again describe table, this describe the table name. What is the table name? It's article. I should actually have for rows. So yeah, here I should I should actually make the selection first. So select all from limit 5, and this is it. So there you go. So here I'm limiting the number of records to be up to 5 records. So if I want to limit it up to for example 1, let's say, see, I'm having only one result here. All right, so we can actually just play around with this according to our choice. Well, so this is it. So here you have already created an example of a table, and you have inserted a data into the table. Actually, I cannot cover all the all the queries that you can do with MySQL, because they're actually so much, and so and they are actually so extensive. But the main purpose of this tutorial here is to introduce you about MySQL and how to run SQL on Windows Server 2012. So I hope this has been informative for you, and I would like you to thank you for watching. If you have any queries, any issues, please don't hesitate to contact with me. So thank you so much, and see you again.